the over expectation of the parents from the school, that should change, because no school has a syrup kind of a thing that you give it morning, evening, thrice a day, you give it to the child and the child knows everything. Whatever the child learns, the base comes from home. Bhagavad Gita, it has lot of lessons to learn, especially life
And
skill lessons.
look what I have in my hand. It's always lying next
Oh.
to me. It truly is. So hello and a very warm welcome to Great Principles. I am Seema Chhoriya and I bring to you another brand new episode on Great Principles. Education is the best friend. An educated person is respected everywhere. Education beats beauty and the youth. Please join me in welcoming my very beautiful, energetic, and very philosophical educator of the day, Miss Arty Awasthi, a leading educationist. Welcome to Great Principles, ma'am. We are very honored to have you with us today.
Thank you, Seema. And it's a pleasure to be talking here on this platform, because at least I can connect to a lot more people and my ideas. And maybe I sow a small seed which may carry forward. Because what you sow, it's never that you reap what you've sowed. A seed here becomes a tree and bears fruit by the time you're not even there. You might have moved on. So let's see if I can make that small little change in this world also.
And that is what is the true vision of Great Principles. This is what we are trying to do because a small change also goes the long way. So
Right.
let us understand first your journey, ma'am. So how did you enter into education sector, and what inspired you to join your start begin your career here? And we would also like to know from you your vision for your students.
Right. See, I had my schooling. I come from an army background, so I had my schooling at Loreto Convent, Lucknow. And at that time, never did I think that I would ever get into the field of education. I was thinking of many other things to do rather than coming into the field. But unfortunately or fortunately, I lost my father and I got married early and I reached Kanpur, and then I realized there was nothing else much to do except that I would step into this world of teaching. And that was the time when I joined St. Anandram Jaipuriya in Kanpur. And once I started teaching, this actually fascinated me. Earlier, it was by default and not by design. But then, when I started getting into it, teaching children, the kind of love and affection, and every day is a new day. Everything is so exciting and different. So that fascinated me, and I went on. So from teaching, I went on to the admin, and then became a principal. It's been last 10 years I've worked as a principal, also headed prestigious schools like GT Goenka Varanasi was my last assignment which I was on. So this, and as I went on, as I moved on to this journey, I did a lot of learning, I must say, because every day my teachers, my children, and my surrounding taught me lots and lots of new things. And with those things, I went forward how to do better there, or I could change something. So it was just not that I was teaching or making others learn. I at the same time did a lot of learning during this journey. And then came the pandemic, of course, which was the greatest teacher of all its time. And we had just I had moved to Varanasi to as a founder principal there, and we were about to initiate the school, and it was our first set of admissions. And lo and behold, after Holi, it suddenly stopped. And then getting everything online was a challenge, and getting children on board was also a challenge, because people thought that if the schools were not opening, why should we move them to a new school also? They were saving. So anyway, by God's grace and the blessings of say Lord Shiv or Baba, jo Varanasi mein hai, so he made everything successful, and it was again a great. And my teachers, the set of teachers I got was very good. So that's how we moved on. And during this time, there was like, I was not only taking a class which I was teaching a student there, rather I was in fact educating the entire family there, because when it was an online class, we had almost everybody there. The grandparents would be there, the parents would be there, and then the people on the other side had a lot of more questions than the students. They also had different questions, they had different ideas, their ideologies were different. So going through that, and I would try and be in the classes for as many teachers as possible, because sometimes there were some questions from them which were not very comfortable for all the teachers to answer. So anyway, that was a lovely journey, and I'm very happy where I have reached. And I've enjoyed every bit and every moment. And why I love this profession, I want to be in teaching, because it's very, very challenging. And each day is a new day, and it comes up with its new challenges every day. So it is not a monotonous work. Maybe the position becomes stagnant, that you're a principal and you continue there. But every day you have something new to learn from the children or from whatever happens in the school. So it's a very exciting profession for me.
Absolutely. Certainly, ma'am. Once you are a teacher, you are a teacher forever because moving away from children is very, very difficult, though they give us all the energy that we require. So, ma'am,
Mhm.
what is your vision for your students?
See, for my students, I want them to be good human beings, which is very, very important. Being a good human being is that they should understand what is right, what is wrong, where to draw a line, take their own decision. It's not that if the vision which the people have today, that if they have money, or the child becomes a doctor and an engineer, becomes a successful child person in future, I don't believe that. They should be grounded, they should understand, they should accept people around, and be in such a situation that they are also accepted by the other people. So my vision of the children is very different. I don't believe in doing big things. I believe in doing very small things, but doing things which make a difference, which create some kind of difference somewhere. So that is what my vision for my children is. And I've really worked hard, and I've tried to get my children into this thought process. And somewhere down the line, I've been successful also. Successful in the sense that I see that coming back to me, because in this field there is no perfect success rate. So even in a class, if you're teaching 40 students, all of them will not get 100 marks. Though you have taught the same content to all the children given the same time, but the returns vary from child to child. So I feel I made a small mark somewhere.
Certainly, ma'am. Every teacher not only guides a child, in fact they shape the life of a child always have her impression carried throughout. A little bit of that trace is always with the child, and that is what this profession is. That is why the profession is highly respected. So, and you have a beautiful vision that a child should be a good human being first of all, because that is the core value which join us all, bind us all together, and help to the planet also. When you are human, when you have humanity, empathy towards everything, that is how when you grow together. So, moving ahead to my next question, ma'am, the world has changed phenomenally, especially when we were talking about pandemic. Now there are no boundaries. We are sitting and working globally everywhere. So what do you think? How should we train our children to meet the demands of the workforce of the future? Because the future workforce is sitting in the classroom. Now it is no more about just having certain following the instructions. Rather, we need to think out of the box. Rather, there is no box now. So we
Mhm.
need to have a lot of different philosophy in workforce also. So how do we
Mhm.
prepare our children with these kind of skills?
Actually, we should try to make our children very independent from the beginning, like what we talk of design thinking and all these various things which are coming, social emotional learning we are doing. Why are we doing? Because see, and hands-on doing, like the kind of pedagogy which you're coming on is experiential learning and all these things. So why in these process, what are we telling the children to understand? Like in, if we talk of the gurukul times, in the olden times, when the children went to the gurus to for their education, they did everything there. Talking of their life skills, because if it was a son of a king, would learn the warfare, but at the same time he would also learn how to cook or do the various other things, the regular things in life. So it was never difficult for a king. If he was lost in the jungle, he knew how to manage himself through. Or if it was a say a priest child who had gone to the gurukul, he was not studying warfare. He understood what warfare was all about, but he did study the scriptures, so that he was guiding somebody somewhere that this is what rightfully should be done. So if we look back and we connect it to today, the same thing we are trying to do now. They have to independently decide what is right for them, what is wrong for them, how far or how much is too much also. See, they have to understand this now from the child. If they start understanding things, how much is too much for them, so they will actually become independent, and that is how globally they will be able to sustain themselves. Because times are today are pretty challenging. I don't know what tomorrow holds for them, and children today have got so used to spoon feeding. It's like they want everything at their beck and call, and parents also, because of the nuclear family, are giving a lot of attention to their children. I mean, every parent loves their child. I'm not saying they're doing wrong, but because of the lack of time or whatever, I mean, the child becomes like they don't learn how to share and care for them, because since they're say maybe just a sibling or the only child, so they get everything, so which is very difficult for them to sustain when they move out, because once you're out of the care of your parents and home, it's a different world, it's a very harsh world which awaits you. So those are the things which it should be in the child from the very beginning.
Very well said, ma'am. I can totally relate to this that today, even I'm a parent and how my parents were. And I will not, I'll be very honest that yes, since the family size has become nuclear and we have more of, day and night thinking about what our children, we should give best to our child, we pamper them a lot. And this pampering is actually spoiling them.
Not
When we
pampering
were,
them, I would rightly say, sorry to interrupt. Actually, I would rightly say that we are trying to structure everything, and we are making that structure very stiff. We are actually putting them everything into such boxes that from this to this time the child is going to school, and after that this child will go to certain college. I mean, parents have also decided which college, and accordingly they are doing their investments or doing their savings, that this is the amount of fees we have to use in future. They will not even ask the child, what do you want to do, are you even interested in that? So that is the difference which has come. Even at our, if I talk of my times, I never think my parents ever told me that you have to do a certain thing. Though my father always told me that women should also work, because it makes you independent, you have financial independence, and it gives you a space in the society where people look up that she's well educated, she is well versed with things. So that is why he always encouraged us to do something in our lives. But it was not that we had to work and in certain school. They were never asked us what marks we were getting. You doing well in school, we are not. If they didn't get any complaints from the school, it was fine. We were all happy go merry, enjoying ourselves.
absolutely. I think that was a time when there were borders about who is doing their role properly. No one was
Hmm.
interfering a lot. Now
Hmm.
we are interfering in every segment. That we are not taking care of our own responsibilities. Rather, we want to pinpoint on everyone's responsibilities also. So we
Yes.
have forgot that how together we can work. So to my dear parents, do not spoon feed your children. Give them the liberty to do things. Make them self-reliant. Let them do household chores also, so that they
Hmm.
understand what the world is. And ma'am rightly said that that we are the models and we can only create our children. So let lot of things depend on us. So together we can work, parents, teachers, and schools, so that our children can go ahead in life. And let's see how the changing world, what all the world is bringing forth, and how our children are going to survive in this world. So let them take the step today itself by being independent. So now, ma'am, we have reached to the very interesting segment of the show. This is called rapid fire round. So
Right.
you have to answer me in one word or a single sentence.
Okay.
Okay. So we are very excited for our rapid fire round. Here comes my first question. If Aarti ma'am was not a teacher, what you would have been?
I would have become a preacher.
Teacher. All right, wonderful. What you do when you are not in school?
Pardon, I couldn't get that.
What you do when you're not in school?
At home.
Yeah.
um, I do something or the other. I mean, mostly I'll try and look for things what I can do the next day in school. I always like to go to school with something new. So basically, I'm doing a lot of research during time when I'm not in school.
A skill that you acquired in lockdown period.
Me, to be more patient and all ears.
Certainly. A good one. All right. Moving ahead to my next question. A book that you would recommend our viewers to read.
Bhagavad Gita. It has lot of lessons to learn, especially life
And
skill lessons.
look what I have in my hand. It's always lying next
Oh,
to me. It truly is. So I
yes,
completely agree with this that has a lot of insights. It give you all the answers.
yes,
So
yes.
moving ahead to my next question. If you were to change three things about current education system, what would be those?
Three things. First of all, I would finish off these lot of these books which they have been giving to the children. They are writing pattern writing books and what all. So they would have a very light back to school, and less structuring of the work which has been actually in school. We have structured everything to certain extent that this has to be taught, where the teacher's creativity is going away, because in the olden times we never had the smart board, we never had that many props, but the teachers, even if they were expressionless and teaching us, we could imagine where the daffodils grew and how they were flowing swaying in the air. So that is one thing which I want to. And the parents, now I come to the parent side, the over expectation of the parents from the school, that should change, because no school has a syrup kind of a thing that you give it morning evening thrice a day, you give it to the child and the child knows everything. Whatever the child learns, the base comes from home. If the parent are also helping the child grows well. Of course we work very hard with the children in the school, but we need equal support from the parents. So the parents have to accept teachers as they were accepted in the olden times, where if we went home and told that our teacher had beaten us up, then we were always told you must have done something wrong. Teacher was never wrong. But today they have finished off that, so that respect for the teacher in school should come back. So parents should make that, think over that.
Certainly, so lighter school bags, less structure, more creativity of the teachers, and support of parents and respect for teachers. So these are the things that ma'am would bring about. So to all my dear parents, respect for teachers is very much important because when you respect the teacher, automatically the student himself respect the
Yes.
teacher. They understand that teacher is a respectful figure. I'm not supposed to, just use in my way and present the idea about whatever happened in my favor, because this is the leverage that we are giving to the child, that if
Mm-hmm.
teacher says anything we will see. So how
Mm-hmm.
is the teacher supposed to control the child? How is the teacher supposed to push the child to do what he doesn't know? So
Mm-hmm.
wonderful answers. Coming up to my next question here. Suppose that you become an actress, who would be the actor you would like to work with?
Me. That's difficult. Shah Rukh Khan, my favorite actor.
All right, so ma'am like Shah
Uh,
Rukh Khan, so we got to know this. Okay, do you think that our report cards do not reflect value learning?
yes, they don't. They actually reflect more of marks than the values.
So this was wonderful section, and it gives us a
Thank
lot of
you.
insight in few words also, and very brilliantly answered. Now we come to the last question of the day. We spoke a lot about pandemic. Yes, learning did happen. We all were very new to online learning, but still, when today's school children are stepping back into school, there are a lot of gaps which we are identifying. So, ma'am, I would like to know from you, how can school bridge these gaps, and how can school get the children, make them for the past loss of past 2 years, whatever they have, they are left behind, and how has it opened new doors, new avenues for education domain?
Right. So here I would suggest that we should go on to blended learning. Of course, blended learning has made it mark during the pandemic also, but we can take it to the further level. Like the children, now we have the whole set of children, say about 30 to 40 children in a class. Now every child is a different learner. They cannot be the same kind of learner. So there could be gaps in a certain subject. Some child would be having a difference, but not in all. So if we take up blended learning, we can say introduce flipped classrooms. At times some topics can be taken up as flipped classrooms, or the students who need an extra help and are not open up to ask in the class, we can go for an online connect with them also, so that they get that extra which is required by them, not by the others, so that the ones who know it are not feeling left out or not finding the class monotonous or not interesting. Then there is a lot of mobile apps which have a lot of learning. They give you a lot of questions and they give you quizzes, so the child say they're happy to do these kind of things. So we can encourage the child to do use these mobile apps and do a quiz on it, so that he, where he's falling back, he would. And then there is a very interesting, we have these infographics, if we talk of, or we say those mind, where we use small characters and are giving, and they put them together to create a story or the connect between them. So the smaller children, we can use infographics also. It's a very interesting thing to, and they'll find it interesting and makes a lot of I mean, they can understand the sequence of the things, which will help them initially to understand. So that can also be used. And yes, then we can open them to some learning lessons which are going online, or where they can watch, like we have a lot of videos on YouTube's also, we can share some links with them. So even at their leisure, when they want, they can see those videos, and they can see, they're both we can as a teacher suggest them a lot of things, and the child has to definitely take an initiative to go and do those things too. And the parents have to support the child to do it, because the teacher can, she cannot be, I mean, she's a doctor who will diagnose your whatever the lacking, the learning gap, and she can give you a remedy to it, or a medicine which she prescribes will say that it has to be taken twice a day, before in the morning and bedtime, or it could be thrice a day. So that accordingly they have to do it. If they follow it, I'm sure we'll fill up these learning gaps also. And of course, even if it is not this, the blended learning in its way is very interesting, because here we connect to a greater audience, and we can connect to people across the globe also. So some new thing somewhere can come to us here. So in a, if I say in a nutshell, blended learning is there to stay and help us in a big way. So I think that is what we should be thinking of and moving forward to.
Absolutely, ma'am. Even I am a strong believer that yes, blended learning, if utilized properly, then the dream of
Yeah.
educating every child is possible. Because then, as you said, that we can cater to major audience, more
Hmm.
students by blended learning. So
Hmm.
where especially in remote areas where people don't allow girls to commute to other states because of the
Hmm.
safety issue, traveling issues. So online learning is a boon for these girls to learn at the comfort of their home. And hopefully the government is putting a lot of effort to get the network in every corner of the country.
Yeah.
And so ma'am very rightly said the pros of blended learning. So to all my dear parents, you also need to put in efforts and understand that when you put in effort, the result is seen in the school. As ma'am mentioned earlier also, the children, we can see the difference where children parents work along with children. So for all these gaps which have been occurred due to pandemic, we need to work together as a team and support the children to bridge this. So thank you so much, ma'am,
Thank you so
for
much.
sharing wise words with us. It was really
Thank you so
insightful
much.
to know your thoughts. So we'll
Okay.
have you again in our many upcoming
Sure.
short series also.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was a
Thank
wonderful
you.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.